Hi, I'm Jan, and this is episode 2 of my Pay My Rent project. Today I'm switching in English because some of you asked for it. Okay, so let's dive into the subject. First, thanks to everyone who watched the first episode. Some of you subscribed or sent me feedback. I really appreciate it. Just as a reminder, my goal in this project is to build digital product that can eventually generate 3,000 a month in total. Why 3,000 euros? Because rent around here is about 1,000 euros. And if you want a landlord to take it seriously, you usually need to earn around 3 times the rent. So I'm not trying to build a giant winner. I'm trying to build several products that together can generate enough income to make life more stable. Okay, let's dive into the third product. Try Them On Me is one of the first products I developed, along with a few others that I share in this series. Before we get into the numbers, I should explain why I built it in the first place. The idea came from a very simple frustration. My ex-girlfriend used to do a lot of online shopping, especially on second-hand clothing platforms. She would often ask my opinion on things she was considering buying, and the problem was this. When I looked at a dress on a hanger or laid flat on the bed, it told me almost nothing. I need to see how a piece of clothing actually falls on the person before I can tell whether I find it beautiful or not. Otherwise, all I'm really judging is the fabric. So I thought, I'm probably not the only person with that problem. And there was another part to it. At the end, she returned a lot of things. So I also started thinking, in a very modest way, that maybe a better way to preview clothes before ordering could help reduce unnecessary shipping back and forth. So the idea of a virtual fitting room started to make a lot of sense. Now, of course, virtual try-on tools already existed. A lot of them did. But many of them were built in the earlier wave of generative AI. And honestly, the result often felt too fake to help someone decide. A lot of generated try-on images look artificial, and it was hard to trust what you were seeing. What made the timing interesting for me was the arrival of Google Nano Banana. It was a real step forward in realism when it came to modifying an original image in AR, while preserving the consistency of the person in the photo. The identity, the pose, and the overall coherence felt much stronger than what I had seen before. So for me, that made it the right time to try building something in that space. Later on though, I realized something else. After discussing the idea on Reddit, I found out that a lot of second-hand shoppers actually prefer flat-lay clothing photos. In many cases, they are used to shopping that way, and when clothes are shown on a person, it can sometimes really become a problem. Either they compare themselves to the person wearing the item, or that person changes their perception of the garment itself. So instead of helping, a worn photo can sometimes create fiction. That's why I added the flat-lay feature inside Try Them On Me. So now the tool can also do the reverse. Instead of placing a garment on a person, it can remove the garment from a model and generated a non-worn flat-lay style result. The goal is very simple. Support different ways of shopping instead of assuming that everyone wants the same thing. And that's also part of what I'm trying to build here. Not just a flashy AI demo, but something that fits the real shopping habits. So that's the origin of the project. And now, back to where things stand today. Try Them On Me is the first project I'm focusing on, because it's also the first one that has shown a small but real sign of traction. In episode 1, I mentioned that I made 14 euros, but I didn't really explain where that came from. This time, I want to talk about it properly, because that small amount came from Try Them On Me. And yes, 14 euros is obviously tiny. It's not a business, it's not market fit, and it's definitely not 3,000 euros a month. But it still matters, because it's the first signal that one of my products may be generating a real interest. Well, after that, I decided to test ads. I ran a campaign on Meta and TikTok, but with a very small budget. Around 3 euros per day on each platform. And because the budget was so low, I mostly leave the platform's AI handle the target. But even though it looked promising, traffic increased a lot. More visits, more clicks, more activity. But when I looked at what the people were actually doing on the site, the picture changed completely. I used PostHog to monitor users' behavior, and it became clear that this traffic was not qualified at all. A lot of it showed patterns that looked like very low quality, click farm-like traffic. People would see the ad, click the link, land to the site, and stop almost immediately. They didn't explore the product, they didn't engage. And more importantly, they didn't even use the 3 free try-ons I was offering at this time. And that's a huge red flag. I mean, if someone is really interested in a try-on product and you give them 3 free attempts, the obvious thing to do is to try it. So what those ads brought me was traffic, but not intent. And that's a big difference. If you only look at visits going up, you can easily think your marketing is working. But in this case, it really wasn't. What makes this even clearer is that the 4 paying customers I got did not come from those ads. They came from organic discovery. Either direct traffic or people finding the product through ChatGPT. So the lesson is pretty simple. More traffic does not mean better traffic. The useful part of all this monitoring is that it didn't just show me what was wrong, it also showed me what I needed to change. First thing I changed was the funnel. At this point, I was offering 3 free credits, but looking at the behavior on the site, that no longer made much sense. A lot of low-quality traffic was arriving, doing basically nothing, and leaving immediately. So I changed that and reduced the free offer from 3 free credits to 1. The goal was not to make the product less accessible, but to make the funnel cleaner and more intentional. The second thing I changed was the way people can access the product. So I've been working on a Chrome extension that I'm planning to publish on the Chrome Web Store very soon. The idea is simple. When someone is browsing on a compatible website, they can click the extension and trigger an overlay button that connects them directly to the try-on service. That way the product appears much closer to the actual moment of the purchase, which makes a lot more sense, asking people to discover it separately and then come back later. And the extension is intentionally disabled on fast fashion websites for ethical reasons. I don't want to optimize this product for that kind of consumption. The Chrome extension also pushed me to add another feature in the admin area. Users can now upload a default model photo. Unless they choose to change it, that photo is used automatically for try-ons launched from shopping websites through the extension. It's a small change, but it removes a lot of friction and makes the whole experience feel much more natural. Another big part of the work was improving the quality of the results. That turned out to be more complicated than I expected. Some AI models are extremely strict about skin exposure. Even when an image is completely non-sexual, they can still reject it if too much skin is visible, which becomes a real problem for things like lingerie or swimwear. So instead of trying to force one model to handle everything, I changed the system and built different workflows depending on the case. Now, 3 different AI can take over depending on the type of garment and the starting photo. For more standard cases, I use Google Vertex, especially for single garments and flat lay inputs. Gemini is used when someone starts with regular clothing and wants to try multiple garments at once. Then Replicate is used for more sensitive cases, when starting image already shows underwear or swimwear. In that particular case, the workflow is a bit heavier, so I create an invisible flat lay first and then send both images to Replicate. It takes longer and the user is told why, so the extra waiting time doesn't feel random. So one of the big improvements behind the scenes is that the product no longer relies on one single AI pass. It now adapts to the situation to get more reliable results. Okay. There's one more thing I need to be honest about, the churn. So the person who subscribed in February for 9.99 euros, she cancelled her subscription. Yeah, no, that wasn't exactly an amazing signal. It means I managed to create enough interest for persons to pay, but not enough value for them to stay. And that's an important difference. Getting the first payment is one thing, building something people want to keep paying for is something else entirely. That's one of the reasons I've been improving the product and adding new features. Because the real challenge now is not only acquisition, it's retention. The product has become useful enough, simple enough, and strong enough to deserve a recurring subscription. And looking forward, one of the next big questions is, of course, distribution. Right now, Try Them On Me is mainly a B2C product. People have to find it and use it on their own. But one of the next directions I'm working on is plugin version for Shopify, PrestaShop, and WooCommerce, because that would also open the door for B2B and not only B2C. Instead of only attract individual users, the idea is to make the service available directly inside online stores. That makes a lot of sense, because the need of a virtual try-on appears exactly at the moment someone is hesitating before buying. And I also want to move toward a mobile app over the time. The website already works on mobile, but let's be honest, a huge part of online shopping happens on phones. An app could make the service easier to access and probably more frequently used. The annoying part is that the extension logic doesn't translate directly to mobile, so I can't just copy what I built there. I need to find another approach. But in the long run, I want the service to exist much more closer to the real shopping behavior, both inside stores and on mobile. Yeah, okay, so right now the signal is mixed. There is some interest, but not enough retention yet. Ad brought traffics, but not customers. Organic discovery brought the only paying users so far. Monitoring helped me see the problem more clearly, and that led to real changes in the funnel, the product, and the overall user experience. So this is where Try Them On Me stands today. Not validated, not dead, but interesting enough to keep improving. If you watched the first episode and came back, thank you. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe and follow the journey. I will keep sharing what works, what fails, and what I change along the way. So thank you all for following. I hope to see you soon in another episode of the RAMP project. Bye!